I was raised, as I mentioned last night, by my mamaw, who, despite the fact that she loved the F word, was a woman of very deep Christian faith. And, you know, she was in some ways what you might call unchurched. We went to church maybe once or twice a month, sometimes less, sometimes more. But she read the Bible every single day. She prayed every single day. She loved to watch Billy Graham whenever he was on the TV. And that was really my introduction to the Christian faith. And one of the things that I learned, and one of the things I've tried to correct, and I love Mamaw, this is not a criticism, but while I really believed, and I believed quite passionately, there was something a little bit shallow about my faith when I was a kid. And so like a lot of kids, you know, I went off to the military, to college, to law school, and somewhere along the way, that faith that had developed and was germinating sort of evaporated. And so by the time that I was in law school, I started to call myself an atheist. And there was a certain arrogance to it. I think that there was this idea that I was smart and wise, and I knew things that my grandma never knew. And I think that arrogance motivates a lot, frankly, of secular culture in our country today. But to me, what really brought me back to Christ was finding a wife and falling in love and thinking about what was required of me as a husband and as a father. And the more that I thought about those deeper questions, the more that I thought that there was wisdom in the Christian faith that I had completely discarded and completely ignored, but was most relevant to the questions that were presented in my life as a husband and a father. And so it's funny, my wife, despite not being raised Christian herself, she made this observation to me when our son was about a year old, and I started going to church, and she said, you know, this is not really my thing. I don't have a background in this, but there's something about becoming Christian that is really good for you. There's something about thinking about the Christian faith. There's something about practicing the Christian faith that makes you more patient with our son and makes you a little bit more forgiving when I'm grumpy after a long day. And I realized that is sort of what she was describing, though she didn't have the vocabulary to describe it, is grace. And one of my really strong beliefs is that grace is not this thing that happens instantaneously. That was maybe something that I believed when I was 15 or 16. And I think grace, the way that I understand it, is something that happens over a lifetime. That in ways big and small, if you practice your faith, if you pray, if you think about what it requires of you, then God makes you a little bit better each and every single day. And that, to me, has been the greatest lesson and the greatest blessing of my faith. Let me leave you with just a couple of other thoughts. There has been a lot of rumbling in the past few weeks that the Republican Party of now and the Republican Party of the future is not going to be a place that's welcoming to social conservatives. And really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say that is not true. Social conservatives have a seat at this table, and they always will, so long as I have any influence in this party. And President Trump, I know, agrees. And so I'd ask my social conservative friends, as you see the administration unfold, as you see the campaign unfold, remember that this is a guy who delivered for social conservatives more than any president in my 39 years of life. I think he deserves a little bit of grace, and he deserves a little bit of trust, and I hope that we will all provide that to him. I certainly know that as his running mate, I will.